February just gave us the clearest read on where the Ottawa real estate market is heading into spring. Not opinions, but numbers. Sales, prices, inventory, days on market, what's happening by property type. And I'm going to add real world context as well, because my last 3 listings sold in a week at 98, 100, and 102% of list price. So I'm seeing the stats play out in real time. What you read in the numbers is not exactly what happens if you plan correctly. So if you're buying, selling, or just watching and keeping an eye on the market, this video will give you the full picture of what is actually happening in February and what I expect for spring. Hey, I'm Eric Beckers if we haven't met yet. I'm a realtor here in Ottawa. If you want monthly Ottawa stats that are actually useful, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and let's dive in. Here's what we're doing today. I'm going to break down Ottawa's February stats first. We'll talk about sales, prices, inventory, days on market, sale to list ratios, and then we'll move over to what's happening by property type. Detached homes, townhomes, condos, because that is where the real story is. Next, we'll talk about rates in plain language, variable versus fixed, and what actually moves them. And I'll finish with what I think happens next as we roll into March and April, which are typically the busiest months in Ottawa. Let's dive in. February 2026 in Ottawa. Ottawa had 780 residential sales in February. That's down 6.8% compared to February last year. But this is still a clear improvement from January's 610 sales. The market didn't disappear, it just became more selective, more affordability driven. Now, listings and inventory. This month, we had 1,582 new listings in February. Active listings ended the month at 2,928, which is up 11% year over year. Months of inventory is now 3.8, which is actually easing from January's 4.4 as seasonal sales activity increased. But here's what that means in normal language. Buyers have more choice than they've had in a while, and that reduces urgency. But at the same time, inventory is being absorbed as we move towards spring, which means the market isn't collapsing. It's just more disciplined. The right listings still get action. The lazy listings that are not putting in the effort get punished. Now let's talk prices. The average sales price in February was $662,000. Which is down a full percent from last year. The median price was $615,000, which is down 3.1%. This is extremely important because an average price can swing based on what types of homes actually sold that month. So I always want to look at the median and the benchmark prices as well. In the winter, you get more condos. This brings the average price down. So the stat that matters for anyone selling, and honestly anyone buying as well, is the average sale to list price ratio. In February, it was 97.9%. Homes sold for 97.9% of the asking, and the median days on market was only 24 days on market. This includes the conditional period, 7 to 10 business days. So negotiating is back in many cases. Buyers are taking time to compare options, but this isn't a dead market. It's a market where execution matters. And if your home looks like the best option online for the money, it still sells strong. It's exactly why you can see an overall average around 97.9%, while great listings are still selling at 100% or even over list like my last 2 listings. Now let's break down by property type, because February's story changes depending on what you're selling or what you're shopping for. Let's start with detached homes. Detached sales in February were 358 homes, just down 10.9% year over year. But detached pricing held up relatively well. The Ottawa Real Estate Board notes that the single family segment remains comparatively stable, with pricing holding steady despite fewer sales. This is why in Ottawa, detached homes tend to be the most resilient category long-term, especially when they're in the family-focused neighborhoods and priced in the lanes that buyers can still afford. We have a stable economy, and that shows in this market. Now, townhomes. This is where things get a little bit interesting. Townhomes actually had the strongest turnover of any segment in February. Sales were 280, up 13.8% year over year. But supply is rising fast too. Active townhome listings were up 34% since last year. And the average price of $539,000 is down 7.5% from last year. So what's happening? The demand is there, but the buyers have more townhome options than they've had in a long time. That's putting pressure on pricing. A lot of new builds are leaning towards townhome. So if you're selling a townhome this spring, the takeaway is simple. You can absolutely sell quickly, but you can't rely on the market to do the work for you. You need the home to show well. It needs to be staged, priced properly. It needs to be positioned as the best option in the category and really stand out for a buyer's first impression. Now, condos and apartments. Apartment sales were down 28% since last year. The months of inventory at nearly 6 months is the most buyer-friendly segment right now. More choice, more time, more negotiating. If you're selling a condo, the competition is high. You need to be sharp with your pricing and your presentation. If you're buying a condo, this is likely where you're going to have the most leverage. You'll have negotiating power. Now, here's where I want everyone to pay attention. Let's dive into the benchmark pricing. Benchmark pricing is useful because it controls for seasonality. And the mix of sales. It's a cleaner read on what the market is actually doing. So in February, the benchmark prices rose month over month across every single segment. The composite benchmark is 615,000, which is up 1.4% since January. The single family benchmark up 1.5%. Townhomes up 1.3%, and the apartments are even up 1.3%. You can see this is stable across all markets in this month. This is one of the biggest signals from February. Even though the winter was slower, pricing momentum is beginning to firm up heading into the spring. This doesn't mean everything is going to jump overnight, but it does suggest that the market is finding its footing and the best properties are starting to see stronger competition again. Now let's talk rates, because we all know rates really drive the market. People love to blame rates for everything. Here's the simple version. Variable rates move when the Bank of Canada moves. Fixed rates move with bond yields and what lenders are actually expecting next. That's why fixed rates can drift even if the bank holds steady. All you're gonna hear in the news is about the Bank of Canada rates and what they're doing. The Bank of Canada did hold steady this month, and what matters isn't perfection, it's predictability. Buyers don't need dream rates. They need stable rates so they can plan. As rates become more predictable, as we expect them to stay fairly steady across this year, buyers re-enter. That's why February often becomes a turning point for a month in Ottawa. People are starting to get ready for spring. They see stable rates, warm weather, birds chirping, and they're getting excited. Now, I think we need to address one more thing that keeps popping up online. Everyone is going to lose their house. 1% mortgages are all coming up for renewal. That's fear content. Mortgage arrears in Canada are actually historically low. Yes, renewals are real. Budgets are tight for a lot of people, but the idea of mass defaults everywhere is not supported by the arrears data. In Ottawa, in general, this remains a more stable market because of the job base here, even with the government layoffs making headlines. Now let's talk about what this means for March and April. Here's my prediction. Spring is going to be competitive in specific lanes, not everywhere. Move-in ready family homes in good school zones will tighten up first. Detached homes that are priced properly and show well are going to move fast. Townhomes will stay active, but sellers are going to need to compete harder because inventory is up in that segment. Stage your house, clean your house, get it prepared for market. Condos will remain where buyers have the most leverage because the months of inventory is still the highest there. But keep an eye on those 2-bedroom, larger condos because a lot of seniors are beginning to downsize. So if you're selling, the question is simple. Is your home going to look like the best option online in the first 72 hours? Because buyers decide before they actually show up. Your first week is everything. And if you want top dollar, you don't test the market. You make a plan and you launch properly. Now, if you're buying, the question is also simple. Are you ready when the right home shows up? Or are you waiting for that perfect moment that might not arrive? Because the best homes, they still don't wait. And spring won't slow down for indecision. If you want help building a plan, buying, selling, upsizing, downsizing, I offer a free, no pressure consultation where we will go through your goals, your personal timeline, and what's happening in the exact areas that you care about throughout Ottawa. So drop a comment below with one word, buying, selling, or upsizing, and tell me your location for your personalized report. Until next time, happy house hunting.